Hello, welcome back. Girl, I am so glad to have you here today. If you are new here, hi, my name is Butsi, and today we are going to go over a scenario about what would have happened if season 13 wasn't really rigged. You know that season 13 got a lot of slack for being overproduced and maybe a little bit rigged, so now we are going to see what would have happened if that was not the case. So if you're interested about how season would go, stay tuned. But before we start, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because if you don't hit that subscribe button, Tamisha Iman will never be your drag mom. Also down below is a link to my Patreon where you can support me, tip this queen a little bit, help her out, and you get early access to my videos plus some exclusive content that way. So now let's get started. This will be based on the general consensus. So for reference points, I will use my polls that I put out during the season in my community tab and Reddit polls where fans voted, and we will see how did majority of people think what was the fairest solution for this season's outcome. First thing we are going to do is completely eliminate episode 1, the pork chop lounge. That was completely necessary and too rigged that there is really no need for that episode to happen now. Plus, it made the season longer than it needed to be, and it divided groups into winners and losers, which was so dumb, so Pork Chop Lounge is gone. Format will be the same like it was in season 12, where 2 groups of queens enter, we have 2 non-elimination episodes, and then we proceed with the competition. So in first 2 episodes, there is really not much riggery going on. In episode 1, congratulations, nobody is eliminated, the top 2 queens are still Symone and Olivia, and Symone wins that lip sync. On the episode 2, Denali and Rose are still the top 2 queens, and Denali wins that lip sync. So now we move on to episode 3, first elimination episode, where both groups finally meet each other. In this scenario, there is no bad blood between the queens other than the usual drama like Tina Burner seeing Rose for the first time and things like that. But there is no divide into winners and losers this time. So when it comes to riggery of this season, this is the episode where it kind of all started. But it did not start with the winner of the challenge. Symone did deserve this win, so Symone still wins this acting challenge. But where it does get riggery is that they decided to put Denali in the bottom 2. Now her performance was not the best, but it wasn't horrible. And on the runway she was amazing. So compared to the other queen in the bottom 3, Lala Ri, who was from the original winner's circle, and the production didn't want to have winner's circle in the bottom yet. But now that there is no such divide, I do think that it is fairer to put Lala Ri in the bottom instead of Denali. Lala Ri's outfit was a little bit worse. It was not bad like we saw in the bag bowl, but it was not as amazing as Denali's outfit, and in the challenge she really kind of stumbled. And as you can see from the fan vote, Denali didn't even place in the bottom 3. So without any riggery, Lala Ri and Kimora Hall lip sync to 100% pure love. In this lip sync, there is no doubt in my mind, Lala Ri wins. Kimora wasn't really able to move in that dress, and her performance overall was not too fierce. So Lala kills it and Kimora Hall is eliminated. Now we are on to episode 4, the bag ball. This is another episode that had fans gagging. By fan reaction and other queens' reaction actually, everybody overwhelmingly thought that Utica deserved that win over Gottmik, because Utica's creation on the runway was so stunning. Mick was not bad at all, but it was kind of simple compared to Utica's. And Utica even got the top toot of the week that week for that outfit, so I think that tells you all. Utica Queen is now the winner of the ball challenge, and in the bottom 2 we still have Lala Ri. For obvious reasons, her bottom 2 placement was anything but riggery on this episode, and joining her we have Joey J, and Lala Ri wins that lip sync, so Joey J is eliminated. Episode 5 is the Discommentary challenge. This one was rigged. This is the episode in particular that everybody loves to call out for its riggery because it is kind of so obvious. The editing of this episode kind of ignored Kandy and Mick's performance in the challenge. They focused on Tina Burner because they didn't want to showcase how horrible Mick and Kandy were. They did showcase Kandy because they wanted to put her in the bottom 2 with Tamisha, who she coincidentally had a huge argument with the week week prior, so that was their French vanilla fantasy, but it had nothing to do with the fairness of the competition. On this episode, judges tried to diminish what Tamisha did in the challenge, and in my personal opinion, and in the fans' opinions too, she really slayed that challenge. I think her moves were very disco, she did well, so there was no need for her to be in that bottom two. But production did not want to make Mick lip sync in that episode, especially because that week's runway was a little black dress, and can you imagine Mick trying to lip sync in her little black dress? That may be controversial. But the fairest way that everyone still voted for is that Olivia Lux still wins this challenge. She really did slay it. And in the bottom two, we have Kandy Muse and Gottmik. So with Mick being in that dress and generally not a performance queen, I don't think she would outperform Kandy. So for that reason, Gottmik is eliminated in episode 5. So this is how it would go if it wasn't rigged. You voted for this. Now we move on to episode 6, the Bossy Rossi challenge. Now we no longer have Gottmik and Tamisha is still there. On this episode, RuPaul divided the teams randomly by the way queens were standing, so there is really no possible way for me to know who would stand where and who would be paired with who. So we are just going to put Tamisha in Gottmik's place. So Tamisha is in a team with Utica and Olivia Lux. While Utica and Olivia were fighting about who wanted to be a mime, I do think that Tamisha would go for the psychiatrist role because she is a psychiatrist of this season. She was calling all them bitches out. But the biggest triggery on this episode, according to fans, was the top placements. Everyone was so mad that Rose and Denali were not in the top 2 for storyline reasons, because production wanted to give Kandy that redemption moment after her lip sync. It's not that Kandy and Symone were bad in the challenge, but everyone just thought that Rose and Denali were so amazingly funny and so entertaining in that scene. But by the way the fans voted, the top 3 actually is Olivia Lux, Rose, and Symone, and the win still goes to Olivia Lux because she was so good on that challenge. Tamisha originally did okay in her first acting challenge, so it is safe to assume that next to Utica at least, she would be safe on this episode. So Tamisha is at least safe, and the bottom 2 are the same. Lalari versus Elliot with 2 T's, and on that lip sync, Elliot really slayed it, so Elliot stays and Lalari is eliminated. Episode 7 is Social Media, the Unverified Rusical. This is another special episode because there was still no question about the riggery of it all. The winner is still Rose because everyone agreed Rose killed that performance. Even though her runway was questionable, she still deserved that win and had the best performance of the night. But where the riggery comes in is the bottom 2 placements, and not really bottom 2. Everyone agreed that Kandy and Symone should have been the bottom 2, but the double save. Symone did well in the lip sync, so she won the lip sync. Kandy was sent home, but then RuPaul decided to pull her back in because Kandy was the moderator of this season. RuPaul couldn't have let her go just yet. But with the world with no riggery, everyone voted that this lip sync did not deserve to be a double save. So for that reason, in this scenario where there is no riggery, it will not be a double save. Kandy Muse is eliminated on this challenge. So guess what? In the world with no riggery, we already have 2 queens who were originally in the top 4 eliminated. So obviously the outcome of this season will be completely different. Now moving on to episode 8, the Snatch Game. Only riggery fans said about this episode was that Symone was not high in that challenge. So now where there is no Gottmik and no Paris Hilton in the Snatch Game, Symone, Denali, and Rose are the top 3 queens. And based on the judges' critiques and the way fans voted, the winner now is Rose. She gets her 2nd win, mama. According to fans and according to production, Rose was the 2nd place in the Snatch Game. I couldn't find online who Tamisha would do for the Snatch Game, but it is so hard for me to imagine that Tamisha would do worse than Elliot and Utica. So for me there is no question, Elliot and Utica are still the bottom 2 queens. Their performances were just awesome. awful. So they lip sync and Utica sends Elliot with 2 T's home. Now we have to make one adjustment. Originally, next episode was Freaky Queen's episode Makeover Challenge. But now, because we didn't have a double save yet, there is not an even number of queens, so they cannot really be paired up. So we will push the Makeover Challenge later on, because in past seasons, the Makeover Challenge was done later on. This year they changed it a little bit for some reason. And the challenge after the Makeover originally was the Marketing Challenge, Pop Goes the Queen, and that challenge can be done no matter how many queens there are. So we are going to just switch the places of those 2 challenges for the fairest outcome. So episode 9 is now Pop Goes the Queen Marketing Challenge. Both Symone and Rose did great, but this is also an episode where fans did not agree that it should have been a double win. People didn't like Symone's runway as much. I saw a lot of critiques about her not changing her makeup, especially on this runway, because her face was so glam while her outfit was very campy. And according to people who voted, in the case that this was not a double win, a win does go to Rose. So Rose wins this challenge, and it is her 3rd win in a row. She is on a roll. But again, it could have very easily been a double win because both of them did so great, but this is how fans voted. Now, when it comes to other queens who are there that were not originally on this challenge, like Denali and Tamisha, I think Denali would go for something icy spicy. Literally, her brand goes perfectly with any soda drink commercial. And we saw that Denali in comedy and improv challenges did do well, so there is no doubt that she would do well and be at least safe now. And just judging on Tamisha Iman's sneakers, there is no way that she would be low in the marketing challenge. Obviously, she is a marketing genius, so Tamisha is also safe. Now, the way the fans voted was that Gottmik and Tina Burner were the bottom 2 queens, but Gottmik is long gone in this reality, so the 3rd worst queen was Utica. Again, Tina and Utica lip sync, and we know how that ends. Tina Burner sachets away. Utica becomes a lip sync assassin. Now we move on to episode 10, Freaky Friday Queens Makeover Challenge. Now we have 6 queens remaining, 3 pairs of 2. This challenge was also a bit weird because queens were paired up based on the psychic medium, so in a way it was a random pairing. So again, it is hard to determine the fairest way that this will go. Now we have Tamisha there instead of Tina Burner. I do think that Symone and Utica would still be paired because production wanted to have that moment where Utica would be forced to wear something of Symone's, and we know how Utica felt about appropriation, so I think they would push that to happen. But now I do think that they would put together Rose and Olivia. We saw in episode 1, production put them together to lip sync against each other, so they did want to have rivalry between Rose and Olivia, so this is a perfect challenge to put them against each other. But it has to be mentioned that now that Rose is not paired with Tina Burner, we would never get this Rose mirror face moment, so this is not really the tea. That face is so iconic.
Everybody say ugly.
So that leaves Denali and Tamisha to be paired up together. Symone and Utica would still win. They deserve it. There was no riggery there. But when it comes to bottom 2, it is really hard to determine because Rose did do a pretty good job on Tina Burner, but now working with Olivia, I think she would have an even easier time. But Olivia did not do a good job. Her outfit and concept was really not Olivia Lux, it was just any drag pageant queen. Denali also did do an okay job, but working with Tamisha may be harder, especially because of Tamisha's colonoscopy bag. So Denali could not have full freedom to cinch Tamisha into that ballerina dress and things like that. But Tamisha, being a drag mom who has literally over 100 drag daughters, I don't think she would struggle in this challenge a bit. She knows how to put people in drag, so Tamisha Iman is safe. So this leaves us to the conclusion that this time the bottom 2 queens would still be Denali and Olivia Lux. Everyone originally voted for Tina to be in the bottom 2 and for the pairs to be judged individually, so now that they are judged individually, Denali and Olivia still are in the bottom 2 because Tina was already eliminated at this point. But wait, this is the lip sync that everyone said should have been a double save of the season. Both of these queens gave us drama, gave us emotion, none of them wanted to go home, and fans saw that. So because of that, Shantae, you both stay. You both killed it, and production needs another double save, so fans voted and they said that this lip sync should have been a double save, and now it is. And now we can move on to episode 11, Nice Girls Roast. Miss Congenialities are back to be roasted. Candy Muse originally did win this challenge, but in this scenario she is long gone. So is Gottmik, who was high on this episode. So that leaves us with Rose, and I do believe her biggest competitor would be Denali, because Denali is actually a comedy queen. Her humor was so funny, at least for me in this season, and I think she would do well in the comedy challenge like this. Rose had the killer jokes and the killer performance, but production knows that if they give this win to Rose, she is a clear frontrunner to be the winner of this season, and they want to reward Denali because she hadn't had wins since episode 1. So I do believe that in this case, production would give a win to Denali, even though both of them would probably do great. The win can literally go either way, but I do think that for the fairness of the competition, they would give this win to Denali. Now, bottom two queens are hard to determine because I don't think Tamisha would do that well on this challenge. She is a legend, but not a comedy legend. She is funny, she is shady, I think she actually could pull this off, but comedy is not what she does. But even so, Symone and Utica bombed this so bad. It was legendary how bad both of their performances were. So for that reason, I think Tamisha would maybe be low or safe because she would be like on the same level as Olivia or better than Olivia. I don't see her bombing as hard. She's not the one bombing. So the lip sync is the same. Utica lip syncs against Symone, and we saw in that lip sync, Symone wins. Fans also voted that that was the fairest outcome of that challenge. So Utica is eliminated on her third lip sync. And now we move on to episode 12, Henny, I Shrank the Drag Queens. This is the top 5 acting challenge, and now instead of Kandy and Gottmik, we have Denali and Tamisha Iman. In this challenge there was no real riggery. Rose did win, everyone agreed with that, so Rose gets her 4th win in this competition. While I do not think that Tamisha would perform as well because especially this scenario is kind of energetic, Tamisha may choose the role of that villain queen that Kandy originally had, but I just don't think that the production would put Tamisha in the top 4 because for now she doesn't have any challenge wins, and even though she is a fierce queen, I do see them putting her in the bottom 2. So Tamisha and Olivia Lux are in the bottom 2. They lip sync to Strong Enough by Cher. I do feel that Tamisha could kill this performance, especially this is type of the song Tamisha would hands down kill. But because this is the top 4 and Tamisha has no real wins in this challenge, I do feel that she would be Jackie Cox at this point and just be sent home based on her track record. So with a heavy heart, I have to say Tamisha Iman is eliminated. Oh no! Then in episode 13, Getting Lucky, we have no elimination. Queens just perform in the song Lucky by RuPaul, and all of them make it to the grand finale. So in the finale, we have now completely different top 4. Well, 50% different. We still have Symone and Rose, but now joining them, we have Denali and Olivia Lux. And now it is very impossible to determine who would win because obviously in the world without rigor, we don't know who the wheel would land on, whose place are Denali and Olivia taking in that wheel, because obviously Kandy is not there, so who would Rose lip sync against? Would it be Olivia? Would it be Denali? There are storyline reasons for both of them. Who would win those lip syncs? It was just hard to determine. I mean, based on the final episode, I don't think Rose would win the lip sync. Symone could very well win the lip sync and be in the top 2, and in that case, I do think that Symone would still be the winner of this season. But then again, it is so unique because we don't know, maybe Olivia or Denali would do worse than Rose and put Rose in that top 2, because in this scenario Rose does have the best track record out of the bunch. I mean, she originally had 2, but this time she has 4 wins while Symone has 3. So there is no possible ways to know what gags other queens would bring, but the general consensus is that I do think that the winner would be probably Symone or even Rose, depending on who she goes against. But this is as far as we can speculate speculate about how season 13 would go if there was no production riggery. Tell me, do you prefer this outcome or do you prefer the original outcome and the original top 4 queens? Do you think season 13 was fun? Do you not like it? I was kind of underwhelmed with the finale, I'm not going to lie. I did think Symone was going to win and, well, it was kind of obvious from the get-go. That's why I think season 13 did not excite me as much, because even though I do follow spoilers and I knew that this would happen, even without them, it was so easy to predict who the production loved and who was going to make it far. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching it. If you liked it, please make sure to hit that like button down below, and right next to it there's this fierce red subscribe button. Click it right now or Tamisha Iman will never be your drag mom. Also, down below there is a link to my Patreon where you can support me even more, help this queen out on her immigrational journey to Canada, and that way you also get exclusive content and early access to some of my videos. So it's a fun time. Bam! Sorry for the wig change, but I totally forgot to mention this while filming the video. But special thanks to my gold drag supporters, Pierre Cherie and Sebastian Wolf from Patreon. Thank you so much for your contribution to this channel. It does mean a lot to me. I don't know how did I forget to mention you guys while I was filming the last video. Shame on me, but thank you so much for your contribution. Gals, remember to stay kind in this community. Let's make this community a lovely place. Go send a lovely message, leave a lovely comment to one of your favorite queens. Let's spread some love. I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Bye!